All right. We are live for LaraChat Live episode 17. I'm Eric Van Johnson, and with me today I've got Matt Lantz. Say hi, Matt. And Ryan Thompson.
There we go.
What's up, guys?
As many of you might notice, we're missing one very key element to the show today. It's Sean. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it today. But we have a new initiative with LaraChat. We're going to really strive to get on a regular schedule of releasing the show. So the regular hosts may change from time to time depending on who's available, but ideally there will be 2 shows a month starting in January. I don't know if we're going to do a second show this month in December, but starting in January, we're going to have 2 shows a month. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having.
Yeah, thanks
so
for having
Ryan,
me. First time.
I'd say Ryan, you're a first timer. Welcome to the team here. Now you're kind of a person of significance, right?
I guess.
For those who don't know, Ryan, we have to thank Ryan for bringing PyroCMS to Laravel. PyroCMS was originally written in CodeIgniter, is that correct?
Yep. Phil Sturgeon wrote it, I want to say 2007, 2008 in CodeIgniter.
And
just
as of
recently
PyroCMS version 3, you rewrote the entire thing in Laravel, correct?
Yeah.
What sort of undertaking was that?
It was, I tell you, it was insane. It was like 1.5 years, almost 2 years of pretty intense, just going hard at it. I mean, it was the only thing I did for the longest time. I mean, it was sun up, sun down. I was writing Pyro.
What motivated you to do it? Why did you decide to do that?
You know, I used to be a module developer for Pyro, and I had a number of successful add-ons, and I liked, the freedom that it gave me. I liked the community. It was the first community I really ever belonged to, is the forum there and helping people out, and kind of became like the guru. And then, Phil progressed his career, and Jarrell at the time was progressing his career. Adam was moving elsewhere and doing, bigger things and kind of doing what. And I was like, man, this has to keep going. Either I'm going to rewrite something, or I need to somehow acquire Pyro and, reboot it, because it's got a lot of really nice philosophy when it comes to building, whatever it is you're building, be it a site or an application or whatever. But the show must go on. I guess I kind of took it under my wing as like that was my purpose, and went at it. Did you just decide, hey, I'm just going to rewrite this in Laravel, or did you just start? What made you pick Laravel and send you down that path? Move to Laravel was actually Phil's idea quite a while ago. We all kind of saw this coming, and it was like, we need to get on the ball and start, migrating some of these parts to Laravel from their CodeIgniter equivalents. And so we started off with trying to get Eloquent in, and we actually had a branch 2.3 that had CodeIgniter, and I think it had Eloquent in it, and it also had namespace from Laravel 4, and it was just it was a nightmare. So in that time, that was kind of like the final nail in the coffin for Pyro there, as far as like a lot of the guys involved. And I was like, no, man, I'll take over the reins. And so, the deal was made, switched hands, and I basically deleted everything and started fresh from, I think it was Laravel 5 that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5.0.
Yeah. I think by the time it released, you were up to like Laravel 5.2.
5.2, yeah.
And then like as soon as 5.3 was released, you guys had PyroCMS released like 2 or 3 days later. That was insane.
It was pretty rapid. Well, a lot of the things, so I built a lot of stuff for Pyro. There's a lot of paid add-ons that a lot of people don't see. And 5.3 with like the mailables and everything that came along with it were huge. And like the Scout search was huge for what I wanted to do. And some of the glaring
downsides to, what I had already. So to rebuild. I mean, Pyro is so transparent with Laravel that they're kind of the same thing. And so making that switch from 0.2 to 0.3 was pretty easy.
Yeah. I remember one of the first CMSs I tried to use that was built, quote unquote, on Laravel was October CMS. And I looked under the hood. I'm like, how's this Laravel? I couldn't figure anything out. So it was a real pleasure when I looked under the hood of PyroCMS, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually Laravel. I see everything I expect to see. Yeah, that's great.
There's another one that I looked at recently. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Quarks?
No, not that one.
Matt's written at CMS. It's called Quarks. It's very good. I use it for a PHP Ugly website.
What the heck was that other one? It's supposed to, it's like a ship. It's a big ship is its logo. Voyeur.
Oh yeah.
Voyeur.
That's a new one.
Yeah. Look at the code.
Really?
Look at it. And you can read my voice right now. And I'm just saying, there's lots of room for, it's beautiful UI. We'll never disagree with that. But there's lots that I think could be improved upon architecturally.
Man, I'm such a scrub. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I got two guys who've written full-blown CMSs and Laravel, and what am I doing here right now? Why am I even having a conversation with you guys? You guys need to hook up and just come up with super CMS or something.
One CMS to rule them all, right?
Just have more time to do.
So Ryan, where do you feel PyroCMS is at right now? What's your level of satisfaction? What direction is it taking?
It's funny you mentioned UI versus code because I'm not a designer by trade. Once upon a time I did it all. I was a full stack developer designer. I could do everything. I was, freelancing. And I've started working with an agency in town called TerrorStar, and the designer there kind of took it from where we were when I was in the beta stages, and I had the red all over the place, and I had this sidebar that would just piss you off constantly. And we took the UI to, it's awesome, and the code was already there. I wrote the code kind of obsessively, and so I feel really good about where it's at now. We've got a 3.2 release coming up, and that'll be there's some exciting stuff coming along. We were launching our first add-on store since 2.2. I was going to do it tonight, but I'm kind of waiting on some SSL stuff, so that's going to be a while since the store has been generating some serious income, so that'll be welcomed. And we've got some stuff with the UI coming up that's going to be changing again. Really, really good about it. I mean, the usage is growing constantly. Traffic to the site's growing. Documentation is growing. I've been putting up some videos for video documentation.
Oh yeah,
I
just hit the site because right when you came out with version 3, of course, I go out there and download it and install it, but at that time, that documentation piece wasn't released, huh?
Yeah, documentation has been the bane of my existence for the longest time. Pyro is one of those things where if you look at the learning curve, it's kind of like a bell curve. It's extremely easy to get started and build, a lot of stuff. And then as you want to start doing things a little bit more complicated, there's a lot more, you can override anything in that entire system. A lot of that's because of Laravel, but also because of the way that the builder systems work. You can really tweak things as you need without having to go and rewrite your own things, just kind of injecting a little bit of logic here and there. So there's a lot of detail to document. And then there's, I forget how many, add-ons come with it out of the box, but all those need to be documented still, a lot of them anyways. So there's definitely some work to be done on documentation, but curve at least is slight at first. But if you want to build a custom
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Are you
You
back?
still with us, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys hear me?
You froze there for a while. That's okay.
Full eyebrow hook.
It was a pretty picture. Don't worry
It was
about it.
good. It was good.
It's your new Twitter profile, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're gonna watch that on YouTube later and be like, "Oh, that's rough."
Cool. Matt, what have you been up to?
Oh boy, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of client work. That seems to suck up most of my time these days. But I added a handful of stuff into Quarks, my little CMS, then some more tweaks and stuff inside LaraCogs, which is like a little app starter kit for those of you for people who don't know that one. I've got a package that is technically integrated with LaraCogs that, you can use it. You don't have to, but it comes with it. That I'm really wanting to. I've got like a whole weekend where I'm escaping to Ottawa just to hide away for a while, and I'm going to work on that. And it's all machine learning based, so it's going to add some really neat tools. Well, at least I hope they'll be considered neat tools to help with adding maybe a little bit of mental magic in your code. So that's happening.
Cool. Well, I have been working
Someone
a lot
else was
with Sean.
talking about that.
What's that?
You were talking about the machine code or machine learning or whatever it was. There was somebody else that was just talking about that. I think I was watching one of you guys' previous episodes, and the guy was making a bot for Slack.
Oh, great.
I'm kind of curious, like how do you I don't know a whole lot about it, but you said implementing it into, was it your CMS you were talking about, maybe implementing it?
So the way, like the package itself is really simplified, and all it does is it adds a few or a handful of traits that you could then integrate into services or models or whatever to kind of give your code a little bit of a smarter edge to it, or make it perceive things that it couldn't do. It just shrinks some of your dev time down. Whether or not it makes any sense in the CMS, I don't know. It's actually in the app starter kit, so that way it's kind of the whole thing. Now, technically speaking, because the CMS uses the app starter kit, it's all layering itself. But
right.
I'm trying to get onto this whole focus on machine learning, like as much as I possibly can.
See, I hear that term, and then I hear like what you say about it, like what it is, and I'm like, well, I've kind of been doing that. Like I don't know some of the terminology that people use, but yeah, the learning, like guessing and anticipating stuff for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen enough, demos of some of the parts, and I've seen how people are doing stuff with image mapping and being able to determine what is in the images and stuff like that. There was a handful of little videos that Facebook released recently. They're just little like 5-minute cartoon video, or what was cartoon layered with real people. But they were really handy and just kind of covering some of the basic points of how some of the more complex algorithms work. But I mean, like we've all been doing kind of like a really low level of machine learning stuff where you're just kind of doing some basic analytics on your data. But then it's where you get into the higher levels of prediction and stuff like that, and being able to learn from your actual data. That is what, that's kind of what I'm trying to dig into now.
So I was going to share with you guys, I've been working a lot with Sean these last couple of weeks and talking about LaraChat and LaraChat podcast. Matter of fact, I don't think we've done a show since we released the shows on iTunes. So I took a weekend, a couple weekends back, and downloaded all the shows from YouTube, created an audio version, and did some scrubbing and cleaning up of dead air, sent it up to iTunes. So we now have for those listening and people like me who consume their podcast through like a podcast listener while they're driving or working out or something, we're now on iTunes. So that's a thing. If you're interested. Yeah, LaraChat on iTunes. But, you know, we've been talking a lot about the format and what the goals of the show are and what we'd like to accomplish. And for 2017, we're trying to, like I said, trying to give some focus to this effort. And, you know, Sean and I are going to, between Sean, myself, and Matt, we're all kind of committing to always having 2 shows a month, whether all 3 of us can make it or not. But more importantly, we're going to start to have more of a platform of, you know, bringing people in, bringing guests in, guests like Ryan, who contribute a lot to the Laravel community and, you know, contribute to Laravel projects and kind of pick their brains a little bit. So I guess you're kind of the first, Ryan, of the new format, whether you know it or not. Awesome. Some exciting news about 2017 is I've been reaching out to a couple of people, and we've already got some really great guests lined up. In January, our first show in January, Taylor Otwell is going to join us. The following show in January, we're going to have Jeffrey Way. In February, we're going to have Eric Burns, and then Adam Wathen are all going to join us for different shows. So for the first couple months in 2017, you know, we're going to have some pretty exciting guests on, and it's going to be very much the same format that we're doing today, and we're going to have somewhat of an interview process and just kind of get into some general discussion about what's going on in the community and in Laravel in general. So I'm real excited about it, and I'm really excited with the response. I emailed Taylor and Jeffrey and Eric and Adam, and I mean, within a day, they all responded like, "Yes, LaraChat, definitely. I'll be on there, no problem. Just let me know when." So it's been a great response, and I'm looking forward to it. But if that's not enough to entice you to listen to the show, we're going to bribe you. Sean, Matt and I just found out about this today. Sean has been holding on to some giveaways. He has some GitHub accounts to give away. My initial response is, "That's funny, Sean. GitHub is free." But no, apparently what Sean has is he has some vouchers to allow you to have unlimited private repos on GitHub. I don't know what the plan is called. Do either one of you guys know what that plan is?
It's just a basic plan. I mean, because it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1 year. It's the equivalent of having a 1-year subscription on the basic, you know, personal plan with GitHub, and so you have unlimited private repos then, which is the majorly cool part. Yeah.
So we're going to be giving away 5 of those accounts every month, starting with this month, and to enter the drawing, all you have to do is tweet at one of us, at LaraChat's Twitter handle or anybody's Twitter handle. Tweet it with the hashtag LaraChat GitHub Love, and that'll enter you into the giveaway. And at the end of the month, we're going to pick 5 random people who have tweeted with that hashtag, and you'll have a 1-year unlimited private repos on GitHub. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
that is pretty cool.
We'll include that hashtag. We'll tweet the hashtag out. We'll include it in the show notes. So it's LaraChat GitHub Love, and yeah, we'll make sure you tweet that out a couple times a month. Next month is going to be another. It's going to be another hash. It's going to be another hashtag. So don't think you can write a bot to tweet it out like, you know, once a week or something for the next year. But yeah. So guys, Christmas is upon us. I mean, it is approaching us at warp freaking speed, if you can believe it. And we're sitting there talking about what we're going to discuss on the show today. And it's like, well, it's the end of the year. Let's talk about what's happened in 2016. And initially when that was brought up, I'm like, well, I don't know, really, what's happened in 2016? And I started doing a little research, and I'm like, holy crap, a lot's happened in 2016. So for LaraChat, this podcast you're listening to, the LaraChat Slack channel, they've had a huge 2016 alone. The Laravel Slack channel, LaraChat Slack channel, reached over 10,000 members in 2016. And I mean, and that Slack channel is just growing like crazy. I know at one time, and I'm sure it's probably still that, it was one of the most popular open Slack channels out there. Do you remember this, Matt?
we were I think we were second to WordPress at one point in terms of the number of members or something like that. But like right now there's 13,779 based on what mine is saying, which is no small feat.
That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. A lot of questions being asked.
It's a great community to be a part of. I mean, if you're involved with Laravel and you're not in the LaraChat Slack channel, you're really missing out. Make sure you jump over there. And then, Matt, again, you can confirm this. You guys also started this podcast this year, correct?
Yeah, I guess. I never even realized that.
I did the research, man.
Well, see, I was really lucky because I don't even, honestly, I have no idea how Sean even heard about my existence, but he just reached out to me one day and was like, hey, you want to be a guest on our show? And I'm like, yes, if you want me to be. And then it's just become like, what am I doing Thursday? Oh, I guess I'll do another one of those shows. And it's, it's pretty fun. So, I mean, like, and honestly, if there's anything I can vouch for in the LaraChat community, it's there are, when you get to be a part of a niche group, you build friendships. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're 1,000 miles apart or something like that, because it's irrelevant. I mean, you reach out to these people with like, I need one tiny bit of help, and you have like 15 people diving at you to say, oh, hey, you could do this, you could do that, or, oh, do you need help with this thing? And it's like, I said I was interested in doing some freelance work. It's like a dozen people are like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, thank you. I mean, yeah, sure. So, yeah, it's been unreal. I mean, I thought it was crazy. We even got Otwell to do a show this past year. I didn't expect that, but yeah, overall it's been fantastic.
Now, did you go to LaraCon?
No, I couldn't. I didn't have any time.
He called you guys out at LaraCon as well. I mean, he was up on stage. It was funny because I was online at the time, and I was in the Slack channel. And he started talking about the LaraChat Slack channel and how that's the community to be a part of, and everybody should go join. And you're looking at the front porch channel, which is the default channel. All of a sudden, you start to see these new member invited, new member. I'm like, oh, holy smokes! Everybody's jumping in there now.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I said, it's been fantastic, and just the developer friendships that I've been able to build, even just in this past year, it's trumped every other year in my general career. And it's literally just because I leave Slack on during the day and just chit chat with people. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a ride. I tell you, I initially was just letting Sean know. I'm like, hey, anything I can help you guys with, just let me know, and I'll help you out. And today he's like, hey, I need to run the show. I'm like, huh? So yeah, it's been great. And like I said, there's no sign of the community slowing down. And there's just so many. I think it was just one of these perfect storms with the tool itself, Slack, the community, the Laravel community looking for a place to congregate at, and everything just kind of really came together at a good time. And it's just, it's a good community to be a part of.
For sure. I mean, like, it's had its, we've had our little moments as admins and stuff like that to try and monitor some of the, things that are said from time to time. And, there has to be a certain degree of, it's a professional atmosphere. It's, treat everyone with respect. And, as long as you hold by those rules, it's it's a lot of fun to be in the group. I do really wish we could keep our history a little bit more.
I know. It's like you want to reach out to Slack and say, "Listen, guys, come on, we're like the biggest Slack channel you guys have. Hook it up already."
It would be
free community.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what? Given the message that Otwell got from Vagrant in the last couple of days, I don't suspect that companies are always the most willing to just let it go. So
I know that's
like Slack
that's
being
crazy.
The biggest community. Like they didn't really have. It wasn't necessarily designed for the masses like this. It was supposed to be just like, like business teams and stuff like that. And you guys have, thousands of people involved. I don't really think they planned on that.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, it's a great test bed. We'll push their platform to their limit. We'll expose any issues they have.
Well, like originally, it was. I remember hearing that there was a cap at like 10,000 members, no matter what. But then when we hit it, and we just kept going, I was like, oh, okay. So now I don't. One thing I have learned about Slack, because I've dug into their API a whole lot too, and it's mostly regarding active members. And there's a difference between signups and active members. So, I mean, LaraChat's got a huge amount of signups, but the active member total usually sits at around like 2,000 to 3,500.
Yeah.
So that just means like that's the people you're going to be able to chat with more often than not. Now, I can't tell you if it's the same 3,000 people one time of the day to another, but yeah.
Yeah, and that actually goes over. So for our company, we pay for Slack.
Yeah.
And they manage that because you pay for Slack based on active users, but you pay a year in advance. So you say, I'm going to have 10 active users, or we usually have like a dozen developers on and off. We'll say we'll pay for a dozen developers. They'll let us know how many of those guys are active, and it does a really good job. It realizes when somebody hasn't been active, even if they're logging in. They can auto log in. If they're not doing anything, they become inactive somehow. And
yeah, it's a 15-minute timer on you. Or something.
Don't you, do you guys get an email? Because I get an email for the Pyro one that says, this many people signed up, this many people were inactive.
The summary, yeah.
Yeah. The LaraChat one is usually a few hundred people on, a few hundred people became inactive. It's like the numbers are just ridiculous every week. So it's kind of just like hit that point, like, yeah, well, that's more crazy numbers.
Yeah. Now, as far as the history goes, I agree with you. It'd be great to have the history, but my only the way I kind of deal with it or reconcile with it is before Slack, I was in IRC, and if I wasn't in IRC, I didn't know about bouncers at the time. Now I'm actually a bouncer, but if I was in IRC, I would miss the conversation from 10 minutes ago, from the time I joined, or 2 minutes from the time I joined. I wouldn't get that conversation. Mm-hmm. So even having just a couple days conversation is nice. I mean, you still lose that ability of, oh yeah, Matt said something in that channel. Let me do a quick search. It would be nice to be able to have that, but it's still better than IRC where you didn't have it at all.
Yeah, I've generally viewed Slack as a tool for chat in the moment. And really that's what it fits for the most. I mean, if there's valuable information transferred between people, I mean, in our case, make a copy. I mean, I'm usually pretty quick. It's like, you know, if somebody said some clever way of solving a problem, I'll be like, oh my God, yes, okay. So save that one in my snippets folders and stuff like that, just because you know that it's going to disappear eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you may as well keep it somewhere. It'd be nice if that Eve thing could do that.
If something new comes up, that's history isn't as big of a problem for us, but you know, there's been a lot of stuff that we wish we could go back on, and these days it's just like, dude, you need to put that on the forum. Like we need to have that one stick around.
Well, one of the things that I was really wanting to do in the new site was to be able to have, I don't know, some way of, because I mean the API's got lots of stuff available to it that if you had like a star system, it's like, oh, that's a keeper sort of thing, then the site would be able to pick up that from Slack and then store it in a, you know, history sort of system, which is, it would be neat, but yeah.
Getting replies to it would be tricky.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
Do it like a blockchain system. Unalterable history. I've been reading a lot on that lately.
So how big is the Pyro community?
You know, see, I closed it down because people kept pinging me. But
oh, it doesn't have to be exact. I was just curious if you knew off the top of your head.
A couple thousand in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Ember's actually got 8,000. I didn't know that.
So with Pyro, Ryan, how many active like core contributors do you have? Is it still just you, or do you have some others?
You know, core contribution is one of those things where just recently I've kind of been a little bit more open to contribution, just because there's been a lot of things where, you know, once you start like digging in and like really using Pyro to its fullest potential, you know, building things like pretty deep, there's some stuff that you'll see like I have a solution there and it's not like my end game solution. Like it's going to be something that I retouch later. And so there's been a lot of stuff where it's like, you know, I'm not really comfortable with that just yet. So I'll invite people to talk about it and kind of like offer up code samples, and we kind of brainstorm on like, you know, how are we going to finish off this type of piece. So it's been just recently that that I've really opened up a lot more to hands in it, just because it's one of those things where it was still I was still kind of like fulfilling that vision that I originally had.
And do you feel like you're close to it? You're close to fulfilling that vision?
Yep. Very early this next year, I think it'll be, you know, nailed it.
Mic drop.
Yeah. And then from there, it's just going to be, you know, bonus.
Do you do talk?
That's partly why it took so long.
Do you do talks at conferences or anything?
Like to.
You'd be like a perfect candidate for like a LaraCon talk. I'm telling you, you've got to have some great stories.
One of those things where I haven't talked much at all, like anywhere in like videos, the video documentation we were doing. I was joking with some guy the other day. I was like, man, the first video I did, because my nerves were so bad, I was cracked. Like I could not settle down. It was hard to concentrate, hard to get myself to like focus on what I was doing. So through the videos and like,
helps.
Exactly, a little bit of whiskey.
Oh God, I've got mine up there. Like, what the hell is this?
So I would love to do, you know, more talks, and like not a traditionally trained, I think a lot of us aren't, but a traditionally trained developer either. So like he was saying, machine learning and stuff like that, a lot of the things, like I find myself like not necessarily knowing what you're talking about until we start getting into like, what is it that we're doing here? Right. So that can be
it's one of those things where like somebody explains it to you and you're like, oh, is that what you call it? Okay, yeah, I've been doing that.
I've got a firm understanding on like principles and stuff like that. And like if anybody who's looked at the Pyro code will know that, the solid principles and single responsibility and everything, like that was really heavy on my mind because I didn't want to go back and rewrite Pyro again. That was not going to happen. So the first time I wrote it, like it had to be, like.
Cool. Well, we're about a little over halfway into the show here. Did we want to kind of go through the list of things that happened in 2016? Are we interested in talking about these things?
PHP 7 has got to be.
So PHP 7 was
I think happened.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? PHP 7 was released almost a year ago. It was released on December 3rd, 2015. And here we are, December 1st, 2016, they're releasing 7.1. I mean, what a change from the previous release cycle of years passing by before a major revision's released.
I saw on. Oh, go ahead. I remember I was taking.
No, you first.
Okay. I remember digging through on php.net, or what the hell the site's called, and they were talking about like even security updates and stuff like that. Like they've extended the security update life of 5.6 now to be twice the length of the normal. And so I guess, obviously that makes a certain degree of sense. But I'm wondering if they're going to try and start tightening up some of that stuff now with 7, or maybe even do a faster release cycle with the incremental versions.
Yeah, I think that's from my understanding from the PHP mailing list. That's kind of the plan. It's they're going to get more regimented on a release cycle. I think extending the patch fixing for 5.6 was a great idea because. You still have these big companies out there that see a major jump from 5.6 to 7. And there was a pretty aggressive timeline to make that jump previously. So the fact that they're extending that support, I think is fantastic. And then I think the idea is once you get on 7, the moves from 7 to 7.1 to 7.3 to 7.2 and so on, those incremental moves should be a lot less painful moving forward because they're going to become a much more regular cycle. They're not going to try to change everything under the hood every release. It's just going to be these incremental changes like it should have been.
And I don't know about you guys, but the jump from 5.6 to 7 as far as like breakages was extremely minimal from what I could tell. I didn't see a whole lot of I wasn't working with anything like really old, like 5.3 or anything like that, but most everything I had, I think I ran into like string class conflicts. I named my class string, and that was like what I would see most often, but it seemed pretty painless to me. I didn't really have any issues.
Yeah, I mean, every story I've heard about migrations, and even the migrations that I have participated in, have all gone pretty well. The biggest one I had was trying to deploy a WordPress install on 7. I had, and it wasn't even the core WordPress, which WordPress is what it is, right? But it was all the plugins associated to it, and it was the plugins that weren't compatible, which is kind of one of those ecosystems you buy into when you use WordPress. You're kind of the weakest link holds you to whatever version you need to be on. So, but yeah, I know my experience and the experience of pretty much everybody I've spoken to has all been real positive. As long as they were on 5.6. 5.6 seems to be that magic number where anything before 5.6, it got a little dicey. But if you were on 5.6, the 5.6 to 7 jump was pretty painless. So we also had, we spoke about it earlier, Laravel 5.3 got released this year, which was another pretty major milestone in Laravel. So along with that came, the release of Lumen. the new packages we saw today, Laravel Spark, or not today, this year. It's hard to believe Laravel Spark is already on version 2, and that whole package was just released this year. It's funny because it's like, yeah, I hear so many people using it and having such success with it, and it's like, yeah, that package isn't even a year old yet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So, yeah, lots of new features, of course, are out there. Passport, Scout, all got released this year. One of the bigger, good.
I've been working with Passport a lot recently, and I really like it. He did a nice job on that one.
The OAuth stuff. Oh man,
the API.
Yeah, good work. That and Scout. I've done some work with Scout, and man, that's just taken such a workload off of how you're going to manage that. Previously you had to use the libraries that the vendor supplied and all that, but if there's a Scout driver for it, and you can kind of have that eloquent interface to your search, oh man, it's so nice.
Yeah, we were using Zen Search before, I think it was, and it's like a local. I think it's what is it? SQL based. It's like a file based search engine, but that was the best one I had found, and then Scout came along and just blew everything out of water.
One of the real key indicators for me, anyways, the size of Laravel and how big Laravel is getting is, we've always had Laracon US, well, not always. We've had Laracon US, which is the Laravel conference, here for a while. I don't know how long it's been. I want to say 5 years, maybe 4. I'm not sure how many years, but it's been here in the US. It's been in the EU, so there's Laracon EU, but other Laravel conferences are popping up around the world now. There's a Laravel conference in Brazil. One was just announced in Pakistan. And I mean, that's just like one of those key indicators that this is kind of a platform that's really getting adopted, getting a lot of traction everywhere.
I actually just heard about those today. Are those going to be, how are those like being sanctioned or whatever? Are those through people doing the US and Europe ones?
No, so it's funny. The Taylor does the US one. He's not even involved in the EU one. Laravel EU is handled by a completely different group. The Brazil and Pakistan one, again, completely different groups. Cool. Interesting that you said sanction, though, because I know Taylor this year, he hired his first official Laravel employee to work on things, and he does have a structure around Laravel where it's a business for him. He has products that he has deployed and he's making money off of it. It would be interesting to see if there's doesn't become some sort of blessed, even if they're not running it, saying yes, this is a sanctioned conference. We recognize this as a Laravel conference, but
right, have certain standards and stuff.
I was wondering about that too, because there was talk about the Laravel certificates and stuff like that too, right? Mm-hmm. So right. To me, it's kind of like, so from that point of view, I mean, then Taylor's having to sit there and be a head master of the entire branding, and how is that managed, and what are each of these things representing of the brand of Laravel and what it means to him and things like that. And that could be a tougher transition to handle too, right? Because I mean, if your main focus is working on code and code architecture and stuff like that, I don't know, it's just food for thought, right? But
well, and I mean, you guys probably deal with that with your CMSs as well. I mean, I think that's a lot of where the open source licensing comes into play, and how you can use a brand, even if it's open source, it could have some restrictions attached to it. Right? I mean, PyroCMS, I mean, anybody can deploy PyroCMS as their product and make money off of it. And
yeah, it's one of those things where I've kind of, it's a new thing for me, like open source, you know, obviously on one side of the fence, you love it. But when you come over to like the business end of things, it gets a little bit trickier on like how to not only, you know, basically how can you afford to put all your time into this, and like how can you grow it, and how can you make money off of it and support the product as an open source, you know, project going forward. And I think he's done a really good job. You know, I think that's kind of the key point, is like whether you hire or, you know, you have like a core team, or you have somebody else that's investedly interested in the project going forward. Like you take TerraStar, for example, with a design, like we use it every day, we improve it. That kind of connection on like how to take that forward. I think Taylor's done a great job with it though.
Yeah, it really has. Some of the things that happened this year: Laravel News became the official blog of Laravel. I think that was pretty cool. Laravel News itself got a pretty hefty upgrade where they revamped the entire website. Laravel News is one of those sites that I go to every day just to see what the hell is going on. You know? It's a good one. I don't know. I got some other things on here. This CMS system was released. PyroCMS version 3 was. I don't know if anybody's heard of that or not. But 2016 Composer finally hit version 1. That took way too long. I don't know.
It's just such a huge thing. That's pretty awesome.
So here's a weird little success story. I remember hearing about this at PHP. I wasn't at PHP World. I was following tweets from PHP World in 2015. And I started seeing tweets from Jason McRae, between him and Taylor, about this little project that they're working on. And I guess Taylor actually started helping him out with it because they were both at PHP World. And from that PHP World, Jason McRae created this product called Laravel Shift, which would automatically upgrade PHP would automatically upgrade Laravel projects from one version to another. Within 2016, he finished the code for Laravel Shift, commercialized it, made it a product, released it, and upgraded over 1,000 applications, all within 1 year. That's just like one of those little quirky success stories. It's like, wow, what a great idea. And the guy, I used it for the first time myself this past week. We had a small little project. I'm like, you know, it'd be nice to put this over in 5.3. So went over to Laravel Shift and put in my credit card number, gave it access to my repo, and like 2 minutes later, I had a pull request in the repo. I still haven't merged it. I have to look at the merge. It all happened way too fast. I'm like, hey, I'm actually not as ready as I thought it was, but thanks. That was cool. I don't know. That's pretty much the list I had for 2016. Anything anybody else wants to talk about? Good job, Matt. Way to go.
Was October released in 2016 as well?
Yeah, well, version 1, October CMS version 1 was officially released. Yeah, so I think it was in beta for a couple of years, or beta pre-release. So yeah, October CMS was released officially this year as well. That was nice of you to call that out.
I was just looking because I know they've been around for longer than that. But I was just looking at these notes that you sent over, and then the Cloudflare thing. What's that all about? I tried the Cloudflare under.
So Cloudflare, that was the big hack. I don't know if you remember this, but Cloudflare got a serious denial of service attack this year, and we in the Laravel community know about it because a lot of the Laravel stuff was hosted on behind Cloudflare's DNSs. So it took a lot of the Laravel repos down and the documentation down and stuff like that. So it was kind of a big deal.
I missed that.
View. Okay, so if we're going to go there. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the only hack I think it was this year was the GoDaddy one. I just remember that because it was all over the internet. Like people were 2016 that GoDaddy went down for like
I despise GoDaddy, so I'll let you know. I despise that service.
All my domains there. I remember seeing it. On, it was like on some news channel or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, holy cow!" And sure enough, I was like, "Wow, yeah, that's like they're getting owned right now."
Yeah. Well, we also had the Dino DNS attack this year too, right? That just happened a couple weeks ago. That took down a good chunk of the internet. It's crazy, man. I mean, we're so vulnerable, and we don't even realize how vulnerable we are.
Well, I remember too. It was even I don't remember when it was, but I remember Cloudflare declaring that they could protect you from DDoS attacks at one point, and like
right. That was the big marketing thing of Cloud, and that was kind of the funny thing about it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that, and then when I heard that they got hit, I was like, oh, that's irony for you there.
Yeah.
That is
it's
irony.
Bad for business.
Yeah.
Well, at least nobody lost fingers in it. You know, of course, they have some. They have to deal with that still. So, so I don't know. Where are we at? We're at 5:53.
Yeah.
I think we're at a good spot.
You real quick.
Oh yeah, I was going to say. I mean, do you have any plans to leverage Vue? I mean, Vue is has become such a staple in the Laravel community. I know Taylor deploys it with a lot of stuff that, I mean, it comes with Laravel now, right? The login stuff and all has Vue version 2 baked into it. Any plans to leverage that with PyroCMS?
I definitely do. I want to make it a little bit more, I guess, opt-in. You know, I've seen a lot of projects where, you know, it looks great, sounds great, and then you get into it and there's just way too much JavaScript, or there's way too much involved, you know, to build something for a project. So I want to keep things like simple. I want to keep things rapid, and then let you kind of dig into Vue a little bit and like utilize it optionally if you want to, you know, as needed. So I definitely see it being more prominent, but it won't be like a staple.
Yeah, I think that's actually just a general point about Vue itself, right? Because Vue is elegant in the sense that you can have it added to things and you can utilize it, but you're not forced into a position where, I mean, you can be forced into a position where, I mean, it is the backbone, so to speak, of all your front end stuff. But I mean, like, and I'm on the same boat with Quarks even. Like, I have no intention really of even integrating Vue, just because to me it's a cool thing if you want to use it, but I'm not going to force any of that on you. I mean, like, because the way I've even done Quarks is that it's so behind the scenes, or it's intended to be so behind the scenes that, I mean, it gets out of your way. Because I don't know, to me, packages wise, I like stuff that gets out of the way.
Right. But I mean, for both of you guys, that the statement you made, I kind of translate that to mean the same thing can just be with JavaScript in general. Just like, yeah, no, we're not planning on using a lot of JavaScript in general, right? Because it's all the same thing. I mean, is that a fair statement?
I just actually, with this upcoming 3.2, I just started kind of including some optional JavaScript stuff that'll help, you know, when you're building, you know, a module for a project, or if you're going to redistribute it, it'll kind of help it's kind of like a subtle polish on the end product. You know, you don't necessarily have to have it, but you can incorporate it. Started doing that with this next release, so. And it's native JavaScript. It's nothing, you know, super crazy like Vue or anything complicated. So yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, even Taylor released. I mean, Echo is basically a JavaScript library for Laravel, right? So it's just, I mean, to me, JavaScript has just become so prominent in our industry, especially web.
There's a few things that's been interesting to see, and this is actually a topic that I wanted to talk about at some point. We don't have to do it all this episode, but when you look at the shifts that have been happening in Laravel and Lumen, and how things have been progressing. I mean, Lumen has really kind of been a back burner thing. And originally, the pitch was it's like a micro framework. It's great for APIs, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the way Laravel has gone, he has really driven it towards API centralized as a structural component. And then utilizing Vue and stuff like that more and more, you can see where there's this slow transition to like an SBA or single page application structures on one side and then full on Laravel APIs as the secondary or as the other component. Now, I don't know if that's totally his intention, but even recently I just saw on GitHub, he switched the WebKit-based tests is now a separate repo for handling 5.3 backwards support. So in 5.4, we're not going to have that, I view this or I land on this page and I view these things anymore. He's got it separated into unit and functional tests. So that's another sign to me that he's kind of, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, like I kind of skimmed over it and went, oh, I wonder if that's what he's doing. And moving toward that really focus on API stuff with Laravel, which would make a lot of sense with the way things have been going. And even Vue, I mean, that's grown so rapidly this year. And how you can do, I've seen guys putting up repos of like, you can do full SBAs with Vue now and stuff like that. So I'm curious to where both of those are going to go. I mean, for a lot of the open source stuff that I do, I try and keep as much JavaScript out so that you can opt in and do whatever you want to with it. Because essentially I'm trying to handle a lot of that behind the scenes work for you to just get up and move faster. Something like Quarks, though, like it's got a bunch of JavaScript in it, but it's because it's running in its own little space. Like it's so detached from your app that it just makes sense that it's fine for it to be that way. But yeah, I'm curious as to where 2017 is going to go in that respect.
All right. What about PyroCMS? What are the plans for? We'll let you wrap it up, Ryan. What are the plans for PyroCMS in 2017?
2017, we're going to see, I've got like 40 plus private add-ons that I'm going to slowly be leaking onto the store. And we've got an e-commerce suite coming, a new back-end UI, and a bit of a branding refresher that's coming. And those things I should be pretty busy.
Interesting. Cool. All right. Well, we're right at 6 o'clock Pacific Coast time here. So I want to make sure I wrap this up in a nice orderly fashion. I don't want Sean hunting me down. That's a big guy. Sean's a big individual. I mean, I'm a big guy, but Sean's a big guy. So I want to make sure I wrap this up. Again, if you're a listener of the show, you got a lot to look forward to in 2017. If we don't record again this year, our next recording will be with Taylor Otwell in January, followed up by Jeffrey Way. Remember to tweet hashtag LaraChat GitHub love, LaraChat GitHub love, all one word, and we'll put you in the entry for some free GitHub repos, private repos. I think that's all I have. Matt, you got anything you want to wrap up with?
Nothing I can think of right now. I mean,
you're like a dynamo, man. You're like a media dynamo.
I know, but there's a lot. I'm gonna be stunned as to what's gonna. I mean, if we think that this was a lot of stuff in 2016, 2017 is gonna just destroy it. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I wouldn't be like. I mean, based on Taylor's statements, we're probably gonna hit Laravel 5.5 by end of 2017. Which would be really interesting to see. And then, I mean, who knows where Vue's going to go? I mean, like, if you just look at that on GitHub, that's going to be huge. I don't know if people will still talk about Yarn, but maybe they will.
Yarn's cool, I'm telling you.
It is. I'm not saying it's not. It's cool. But I'm just saying, I don't know if people will talk about it anymore. Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of stuff that I'm hoping to release this year. I actually, as a side note, and this is, I don't know if other developers have gone through this, but it's something just to say to yourself, you know, just go with it, and because you're going to get new cool stuff out there and over time. I wrote 5 apps this year that have never seen the light of day. Full on, like full apps. They're full. There was one that's a full e-commerce structure that will never see the light of day. And, you know, sometimes that's just tough, but it's okay. Just, you look forward because you learned a ton of crap in the,
I would say,
year.
but you're a better developer.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, you take it and just move on forward, and don't try and just rehash them and then re-release them, because, you know, take what you learned, build something better.
That's
so
right.
2017, build it better.
Build it better. That's build it. What, make America great again? Build it better. There you go. All right, Ryan. This is it. The last show of LaraChat Live 2016. You're the special guest. You get the final word. What's it going to be?
Awesome, I guess. I mean, like you said, there's just so much to look forward to in 2017, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Perfect. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and end it for now. Hope to see everybody in 2017. Have a great holiday wherever you're at in the world, whatever holiday it is you recognize. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your loved ones. Be happy to be alive, and we'll see you next year.